for you, 19 for me. 'Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Got my good friend, the one, the only, Taxman Bob Loeser here. He's in the studios. Always delighted to get him in. He's become so popular, it's harder to get him in here. But when we do, we like to really get caught up with what's happening out there. It's often on the political front, but today we got a lot to talk about on the business front. There's a lot going on, and in fact, this week, I believe you mentioned to me before we got started, Bob, that tomorrow is a big deadline for business owners, and welcome as always.
Good seeing you again. The time has flied. As Bob Dylan would say, times they are a-changing.
Yep.
Friday is March 15th. The federal corporate tax deadline is due. And for those, it doesn't necessarily just mean file an extension and you've got until September. It means that if you owe some money, you need to pay it. Otherwise, the clock starts ticking in regards to both the interest and the penalty. And I told you a couple stories on the way up in the elevator this morning that I've got one that owes $300,000.
Yeah.
All right, and he had no clue. He had no clue. Well, I took that money and I reinvested in some new land to build on. Well, that's nice, but it's still profit.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be like me taking my business and saying my $100,000, I just put it into something new, and I don't have to pay income taxes on it.
Yeah, and there's probably certain tax advantages to what he did, but unfortunately not to cover $300,000.
Not at all. Not at all. So, I mean, that's the first. The second, of course, will be coming up April 15th for those out there, and that's both the personal tax deadline and the partnership and trust tax deadline. Mm-hmm. Same thing. If taxes are due, you need to pay it. If you don't pay it or you don't get at least 90% in and trying to cover it, there'll be additional penalties and interest once you do make that payment later on in the year.
Yeah, very interesting. And so it's just that time of the year, and now we're a month away from, everyone filing their extensions.
Right. And what's interesting?
At least that's what I always do.
what's interesting is they told us right after the fiscal cliff that don't send your returns in too quick because we won't get to them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hate to be blunt without being crude. That's a bunch of hogwash. We tested it, actually. Wife and I, for the first time in a long while, instead of filing on April 14th and feeding it with the rest of the 10 million that file their returns, we filed ours on February 4th. They weren't accepting returns into the system until February 6th and proceeded not this past Monday, but the Monday before, to receive our refund. 3.5 weeks.
Wow.
Okay, so that baloney about 5 to 7 weeks or whatnot, I think it is true as you wait longer towards the April 15th deadline because, one, they're going to start running out of money. Of course, the side note, they never run out of money. They just go back to the back room and print some more. But as you get closer, if you think about it, they have less money to refund, and they have more people on April 14th and 15th writing a check to them for whatever taxes due. Because why would you, if you owe, pay them any earlier than April 14th or 15th?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you would want it to, that's relatively cheap money the longer they held on to it. Mm-hmm. So absolutely. Yeah, I wish I could figure out how to print money. I haven't been able to figure that one out. It seems like every angle I look at it always comes up illegal.
Yes. Well, I mean, whatever we do as a society and as a people is illegal. Whatever the politicians do is an exception to the rule.
Yeah, I guess so. Tell me about what other deadlines, because that's one of the things we always like to be kept abreast of. There's always a lot of different things out there.
You've got other issues besides, you've got the franchise tax, which is due for corporations and some partnerships by May 15th, and that's based upon income, but it doesn't necessarily mean taxable income. It has to do with gross revenues less manufacturing costs or gross revenues less wages, employee benefits, etc. So that's something, I'm not going to say hidden, but it's around the corner 3 months from tomorrow, 2 months from tomorrow, but it's still there. Other things you have to be aware of is, of course, because of the fiscal cliff, the tax rates for those over $400,000 for married, $250 for single, are going to be affected and could cost you an additional 5%. So accordingly, as you make your estimated tax payments in April, June, September, and January of next year, you're going to have to increase those payments by that 5%. And in addition is, if you've got investment income, there is an investment tax penalty this year of 3.8%. So there's a possibility with earnings that you could be paying an additional 8-9% tax over and above what you paid last year. Now, note, that doesn't mean 8 or 9 on every dollar earned. It's going to be over the $250 for single and over the $400 for married that you'll pay the extra 5%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, and people just need to be keeping track of this. You know, they probably should have, account or accounts for all these type of things, and they're just continually have a war chest, if you will, to deal with that.
Exactly. I've got some people that'll just dump money into a Merrill Lynch, 0.75% interest-bearing account, and then have enough that in April they cut a check. In June, they cut a check, etc. So they always have, as you said, a war chest to pay it, and it doesn't creep up on them as a surprise.
Yeah, those are not the kind of surprises you want.
Nope.
Absolutely. So, and you were mentioning the fiscal cliff, and of course, we have gone ahead and let the automatic cuts of the sequester go into effect, and of course, early on, we're not seeing much effect. I think it's kind of clever the way the House passed it. They passed it in such a way that the president had flexibility to choose which things he wanted to cut.
Right.
And so if the most draconian and ridiculous things happen because of his choice, not because the law made it. Like for example, no more tours of the White House.
Right.
As if he's. Meanwhile, Speaker Boehner says, "Come and visit. The Congress. Our doors remain open." Okay. We're going to have to let illegal immigrants get let free, and prisoners let free. It just shows how ridiculous it is. But, to me, this is a great opportunity for the government to find areas to actually reduce spending.
Well, maybe, just maybe that the president's vacation trips, instead of being $1.1 million a day for him to tour around the world and the country, maybe they reduce it and put a limitation on him of $350,000 a day.
Yeah, I love that idea. I'm all over that.
Talk about waste.
It's unbelievable.
Not that he doesn't deserve trips. I'm not saying that, but,
Yeah, but where he goes, why are we picking up the entire cost on that, and why does he need more security than any president in U.S. history? Well, of course, when you look at the unemployment numbers, maybe that's why.
But aren't they down to 7.7%?
Yeah, that's interesting how that's worked out. I'm thinking that as soon as they figure out how to extend unemployment benefits again to another 10 weeks or so, you watch that number will go back up, because those people, they haven't gotten jobs, and they're just falling under the radar screen.
Yeah, I think they tilt their head to the left a little bit, and that's how it goes down 0.1, 0.2, 0.3.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Either that or they're hitting harder liquor than they should. One of the two. So that's been interesting, and I think overall, I think the people thought it would be a disaster for Republicans, but I don't think. I think if anything, Republicans have garnered some points for sticking to their guns finally.
I think so, but they still have a long way to go.
Boy, did they ever!
I mean, they're still scraping themselves off the ground.
Yeah.
So it's time. It's time that they have a platform, and move forward in regards to, and they have to include, as Rubio said, they've got to include everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Exactly. All right, Bob Loeser, that's what we call him, Taxman Bob Loeser, to be exact. You can learn more about him. Email him at taxmanbob@pdq.net. That's taxmanbob@pdq.net. Your number, sir.
713-953-1272.
Taxman extraordinaire, keeping you out of trouble every single day. Taxman Bob at pdq.net. I'm Kevin Price. More right after this on The Price of Business.
There's one for you, 19 for me.